everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Sima Gold. So today we are going to be making the beautiful gown we saw earlier before this video, and we're going to be starting with the lower part of it, which is the skirt part. So I'm going to be marking the waist. I've marked the gown length already, the skirt length already. So I'm going to be cutting the skirt part now. The waist I'm working with is a waist of 26. 26 divided by 4 give me 6.5. Then I will be adding 2.5 inches for the sewing allowance. Now for the waist to hip, I'm going to be marking 8 inches. Now the hip is a hip of 36. 36 divided by 4 gives me 9 inches. So I'll mark my 9 inches here, and then add my 2.5 inches for my sewing allowance. Then for the waist to the knee, I'll be marking 18 inches. That 18 inches, I'll be minusing 4 inches from my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 36. 36 minus 4 will give me 32. 32 divided by 4 is going to give me 8. So that 8, I'm going to be putting it as my knee measurement. I'll put the 8 here. Then I'll add my 2.5 inches here. So I'll cut for my sewing allowance. So I'll connect this. Connect this. So I'll just continue this knee measurement straight down. So I have a total of about 10.5, 10.5, 10.5 straight down. And then I'll cut. So what I will do first of all is to get my lining. I'll cut the lining for the front. I'll use this and cut the lining for the back too. So I've folded it into two. This is my lining. I'm not going to be adding seam allowance because I've already added my seam allowance while we were drafting the pattern. So I'll just cut. So I've cut the lining for the front. I'll go right ahead and cut the lining for the back. Okay, so having cut the front, I've folded my fabric for the back. For the back, I'm going to be adding my zipper allowance to the back, and the zipper allowance I'm adding is 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance at the back. So after doing that, I'll cut. So for the back, I'm done. I will still use this to cut the Duchess fabric for the back design. Then we'll go to using the added fullness and slash and spread method for the front to achieve the design in front of the lower part of the gown. So having done that, the next thing we are going to do is to focus on the front. For the front, I'm going to be, this fabric is on fold, remember. for the front, I'm going to be getting my that measurement, which is my bust point to bust point. I'm going to be using that on this particular drafting. So I will get the bust point to bust point is 4 inches. 4 inches, 4 inches straight down. And then I'll cut. So what I'll do is to open it up first. If you notice on the picture, we have some pleats that played around here. Now this part does not have that pleat. The pleat falls around here. So what I will do is to just keep this and note it as my front and lay it aside while we work with this. So I will determine where I want those pleats to fall. So let me come down here by about say 3.5 inches. So my added fullness is going to start from here. So I have about 3 steps of added fullness. So this is 1, and this is 2, and sorry, this is 1. This is like the space I'm leaving before I start talking about the added fullness. So this is 1. I came down by about 3 inches. This is 2, and I came down by about 3 inches again. This is 3. Then I'm going to be giving it a diagonal shape, not a straight shape, because this is how it looks on the picture. Now, so having connected our diagonal lines, the next thing I'll be doing is to slash toe these points. So that's why it's very important for you to add your allowances and everything. So this is the second one, and this is the third one. So having done this, we'll take this over to our fabric and then continue. So I have my fabric already laid, but please take note that it must be on the front part of your fabric, of your doshet fabric, or any soft fabric that you know can easily drape. So this place that I slashed, I'll be opening them now. I'll be opening them, and I'll be giving about say 4 or 5 inches distance. So this is 4. Then I'll place the next one. This is 4. After that, I'll mark another 4. Then I'll place it here. Make sure it's as flat as possible. And here is another 4. So after doing this, the best thing for you to do is to mark it out, so you know where each one is meeting the other. So after doing this, the next thing I'll do is to cut out. But when you want to cut, please make sure you add extra half or 1 inch straight round like this, because that is where you'll be using to join to the other part of the front. So I'll mark my ½ inch from the down part, or 0.7 inches. I'm using 0.7 inches. So I'll cut. Remember that I'm not adding any sewing allowance here because I already added the sewing allowance while I was drafting my pattern. So after doing that, this is what I have. I would mark this fabric back to each other. I will mark this pattern back to each other, but that is after I'm done taking this part and making sure that this point meets with this point, and then you use your pin to pin it down. You lift up this point, making sure that it meets this point, and then you pin. And you lift up this point to this point, and then you pin. Then you can take this off. So this is what we have. And we are going to use our iron to give it a good press. So what I will do now is to mask this pattern paper with my masking tape together. So after doing this, I've masked it back. I placed it on this one to be sure I have exactly the same shape and everything. Then I'll take it off. I can pin as much as I want until I give it a good press. So the pinning is just to secure the pleats so they don't scatter about. So I'll just give it some, I'll just keep pinning just to secure the pleats, nothing else. Confirm that you are doing the right thing as much as you can. After getting this, we'll lay it aside. So having done that part, this other part that is left on the front part, I would cut exactly what I have. Remember that we already had our seam allowance. Then for this side that I'll be joining to the other part, I'll be adding my joining allowance of 0.5 or 0.7 inches. But before that, let me cut out this part, the side front. Then I would add my joining allowance. So I'll take my fabric off and I'll take the pattern away. Then I'll bring the other part of the front. All I'll need to do is to go to my machine. I would close it up with this 0.75 straight down. For this person, the person does not want slit, but in a situation whereby you want yours to have slit, you sew to where you want the slit to start from, and then you weave and tuck in and it will have slit. But for this one, we are just going to close it straight down. After closing straight down, that is when I will bring my lining. My lining, remember, I cut exactly the measurement, no slash and spread. I will now use the lining to turn the hemming part, turn the side, and turn it to the waist part. Then turn the back part of the skirt, and then we'll come back to draft the upper part of the gown. So I've turned the front. This part is the front. So I've turned it, and this is the draping part. So having done the front and the back, you see my drape is here. So by the time I'm done giving it a good press and making sure it aligns flat and flat and flat, this is what I would have. Then you see my joining. So all I need to do is to give it a good press. Now this is the back and this is the back. So I'll lay this aside and we go straight to draft the upper part of the dress. Now I will start by drafting my basic bodice. I'm working with a shoulder of 16, so that's 8 inches divided into 2, and this is 8 inches divided into 2. I'll get my shoulder slope of 1 inch and my shoulder slope of 1 inch. Now my armhole depth, which is my bust, which is 34 divided by 6 plus 1.5, gives me 7.2. Then I'll mark this other 7.2 here, and then I'll connect it. I'll bring down my shoulder measurements of 8 inches down, and then I'll connect. I'll bring down my shoulder measurement of 8 inches down here, and I'll connect. The next thing I'll do is to get my chest measurement or my bust measurement. I'm working with a bust of 34. 34 divided by 4 gives me 8.5. So I would mark my 8.5 here, and I will mark my 8.5 here. Having done that, the next thing I'll be doing is to insert my mid armhole. I have a mid armhole of 7.2, that's 3.6, and then this is 3.6. For the front part, I would go in by half. For the back part, I'll go in by 0.25, connect to the shoulder slope, and then connect to the armhole. Then for the front, connect to the mid armhole and connect to the chest measurement. Having done that, the shoulder to waist for the front is 16.5, while the shoulder to waist for the back is 15. So I will mark my 15 for the back, and then this doesn't count anymore. Having connected that, I will come to this part. I would insert my waist measurement. The waist circumference I'm working with is 26. 26 divided by 4 gives me 6.5, plus 1 inch that I'll be using for the darts, that's 7.5. Then I'll connect it to the chest line. Now when I come to the back, I will measure the 6.5 plus 1 inch for my back tightening and 1 inch for my dart, that will be 8.5, and then I'll connect. So after doing that, I will get my dart leg. Shoulder to bust point is 10. I will mark my 10 inches here. My bust point to bust point is 4, and it will stop as this bust point, shoulder to bust point. Then I'll mark my half inch, and then I'll connect. Having connected on this line, the difference between my shoulder to waist front and shoulder to waist back, 16.5 minus 15 is 1.5. I'll come on this bust point line, I'll mark that 1.5 there, and then I'll connect it. Having done all of this, I'll come to the back. My back dart will be 4.5 and 4.5, and then I'll mark half inch here for my darts. Then I'll come to this side, I'll mark 1 inch for my back tightening, and I'll connect it. After connecting that, I will talk about the off shoulder style. Now for this style, I'm offing 4 inches. 4 inches. I'll off 4 inches for the back too. After doing that, I would adjust my back tightening from here downward. Then I'll get the mid part for the back, which I'll come down by 1 inch for the back here, and just blend it into this dart leg. Come up here by 1 and blend it into the armhole. Then at this side, this is an off shoulder. From this shoulder, I'll be going inward by 1.5 and just blend it down like this. I'll blend it down like this. Then for the back, depending on how deep I want the back to be, I'll just give the back the shape that I want it to have. Then I will still connect to my back tightening. After doing that for the back, I'll come to the front. Already this is 1 inch. You come down from your off shoulder by 1 inch and then you connect. Then your shoulder to under bust is 14 inches. My shoulder to under bust, sorry, is 14 inches. And then I'll connect. Then for this under bust towards the center front, I'll go in by half. Towards this side, I'll go in by 1.5 and connect. Connect this way and connect this way. Now this one is connected to this. Then I'll come down by 1.5 and then I'll connect it to this other line, to this one. Then this 1.5 that I came down by, I'm going to be replacing it here and then blend it back into the chest measurement. Now I took away 1.5 and 0.5, which is a total of 2 inches. I'm going to be replacing it here. Then connect back my bust tightening. At this upper part, I'll minor go inward from the shoulder line by 1.5 and connect it this way. Then for the neck depth, I'll come down by 1 inch and then connect it this way, just as the shape of the neck is on the picture. Then after doing this, I have enough space, so I will just add up my sewing allowance on the pattern. You could do that on your pattern or on your fabric. So I'm adding 2.5 inches for my sewing allowance and then I'm connecting it. I'll come to the back, I'll do the same thing. I'll add 2.5 for my sewing allowance, so I'll connect it, and then so that when I'm even drafting, I don't have a need to be calculating for my seam allowance. So having done all of this, we can say that our fabric is ready, our pattern is ready, so we cut. So our pattern is ready. I'll close my bust tightening for this one. And then we can say our pattern is ready. So the next thing I'll do is to cut on the fabric. So for the front, remember we already added our sewing allowance while we were drafting, so we don't have a need for sewing allowance. So all I need to do, my fabric is already on fold, all I need to do is to cut. I'm cutting the center front. So I'm done cutting the front. then I've cut the side front. So I'll put my stay on this and I'll cut the lining too. Then we'll proceed to cutting the back. So for the back, I'll do the same. Remember, we already added our sewing allowance, so I'll just cut. Then I'll cut the center back. But then for the center back, we'll be adding our zipper allowance. We didn't add zipper allowance while we were drafting, so we'll be adding zipper allowance for the center back. So I will mark 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance, just like we did for the skirts. Then after that, I'll cut. So this is what we have for the back. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to cut the same lining, I'm going to turn it, then I'll join the front together, add my wadding to the front, and then we'll come to the table to do the draping of the front together. So I've added the wadding inside, and this is how it looks outside. Now to get the design, I have my plain fabric here. We are going to be doing a flat draping for it. I'm going to place it on this part. First of all, I'll place it like this and sew it on my sewing machine first, then I'll come back. So after sewing it together, I'm going to cut this place so that it will have the shape of this neck. So this is what I have. This is the padded part. I'm going to try my best to make sure that it remains like this. Then I'll take this and put on top. So what I will do is to kind of lay it flat. As I lay flat, I'll tuck in and then I'll pin. I'll do the same thing here. Make sure it's as flat as it can be. And then I'll pin. I'll repeat it for the second time. Make sure it's as flat as it can be. And then I'll pin. Then after doing that, I'll do for the third time, just around the under bust area. This is using the flat draping technique. And then I'll pin and pin. After doing that, this is what I have. Then I'll follow the shape of this one inside and cut. Then I'll repeat the same thing for this side. and then I'll cut. Now after doing this is what I have in here. I'll follow the shape of this armhole, and I'll follow the shape of this armhole. So this is what I have. This is what I have. So all I will do is to take my stitch to sew around it. Then I'll use my lining to turn and join it to the lower part of the gown. Then the back that I have turned, I'll join to the lower part of the gown. Then fix my zip and fit it. After fitting, I'll bring it to the table and then we'll talk about the sleeve. Okay, so this is the outcome. You see it has been well ironed. Then the slit is at the back. Then this is the upper part. This is the slits we did. So generally this is what we have. This is actually a doll face. This is what the person have or wants to use. But I would advise for you to have a very, if this was a duchess, the unique look would come out so well. So the next thing I'll be doing is to cut out the train by the side. Now all I need to do is to get my fabric and fold it on bias. So having folded on bias, the next thing I will do is to cut. On this bias, on the mouth of here, on this pointed part, I'll stand my cutting. So I'm using a length of 48. I will keep marking 48 round from the tip of the triangle. I'll keep marking 48, and that's how I'll mark it to the end part. That's the 48. So after doing that, the next thing I'll do is to cut it out. So the only thing I need to do now is to hem the sides, weave and hem it. Then I'll weave the mouth and hem it. Then after hemming it, I'll come to this side and I'll place, and I'll just fold it in. This triangular part, I'll fold it into an extent, and then I'll place it by this side. Now take note that this can also be detachable. You understand? You can attach, you can make it in a detachable form, but for this person we are attaching it together. Then after doing this, we'll come to talk about the sleeve and our gown is ready. Okay, so I've attached it. So as you can see, this is how it looks now. Now this is it. After hemming it, after weaving, I now sew it inside here. Now this is how it looks. You see that our gown is forming and having shape. So the next thing I will do is to keep this aside for now, and let's talk about the sleeve. So for the sleeve, I have this fabric on rectangle before, then I folded into two, and then folded into another two. That's making it 4. Then I marked my 4.5 here, and I marked my 3.5 here. So when it's opened, then I'll take, I already cut down before I remember I needed to show you. Then I'll take my fabric and cut in a triangular shape or unbiased folding. But here I have about 37 inches, and here I have about 25 inches. Now what do I do with this? This is going to serve as the base of the sleeve, and then I'll get the middle part of this. I'm going to first of all take the middle part of this and the middle part of this, and I'll sew it together first. After sewing it together, so that I'll turn this one outward like this, so that I'll have a neat finishing at the upper part. Then I'll come and show us the next thing to do. So after doing that, this is what I have. So I'll turn this inside. All I need to do is to gather here in form of a drape and pin towards here. Then I'll gather here in form of a drape and pin. Whatever is the excess I have, I'm going to be cutting it out. So assuming this fabric was actually a duchess, then would have seen it drop so well, but this is just a doll face satin, and I don't have a choice. This is what I can use to work on. So advisably, if you want to really see the good effects of this, I would advise you use a duchess, a soft duchess fabric, actually a soft duchess fabric. So after getting this, I'll turn it this way, and I'll trim off whatever excess I have by the sides. So this is what I have. I'm going to top stitch it by this side and by this side, and then fix it to my um, armhole. After doing that, I'm going to come back and show us the final outcome of this. So this is what I have. I will just go and fix it, and it's going to give me something like this. If it was a duchess, it was going to drop, but because it's not a duchess, this is what I have. So I'll do it for the second part. After doing that, all I need to do is to come to my armhole. From here, I will sew by ½ inch, and I'll go this way and I'll sew by ½ inch, and our dress is ready. So after doing that, I'll place it on the mannequin and we'll see the final outcome of this dress. Unfortunately, this couldn't get into my mannequin as the size is quite smaller than the size of my mannequin. But you can see this is what we have as our final outcome, and we have a beautiful dress. Trust me, this was looking so perfect on her. We barely did any fitting. And also remember, you have to use a duchess to have a more um beautiful effects. Imagine this with a satin and how it's going to look when you use a duchess fabric. Till next time, please kindly subscribe to my channel, share and like my video. It's your girl Sima Gold. Until next time, bye.